Welcome to the Delhi podcast. I'm lucky enough to be joined today by Earl Pike, Executive Director of University Settlement. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, a little bit about our background and how we know each other. My wife and I, passion is reading and helping kids with their vision. And we partnered up with University Settlement, I think it was late last year.
Right.
With the Cleveland Clinic to work on a vision day, get the kids' eyes tested and get the kids who needed glasses, some glasses so they can get better and work on their reading. So for those who aren't aware of University Settlement in the Cleveland area, what do you guys do there?
Sure. But first I have to say thanks for having me, and also thanks for everything you're doing in Slavic Village. I mean, when I see kids who are having a hard time reading, getting glasses for the first time, that's an amazing thing. So, and we'll talk about more of that in a little bit. So just a little bit of background about University Settlement. We've been around for almost 100 years. It's 94 years at this point, 1926. We were established to be a place for nursing and social work students at Case Western Reserve University to practice their craft, their profession in low-income communities. And over time, it's evolved into what's known as a settlement house. There's actually a settlement house movement in the United States, and settlement houses were formed to help new people to neighborhoods kind of get settled in, as the name suggests, and adjusted to their new life. And they were typically immigrants. So it started in 1926 by this woman from Case. It evolved over time. And it became, by the beginning of World War II, sort of the main social service agency in the community. It's probably important to know a little bit about Slavic Village before I say too much more about University Settlement. This community used to be 100,000 people. It's a southern neighborhood of the city of Cleveland. It used to be 100,000 people. Because of closures of steel mills and other factors that are common in northern cities in the US, it's now 22,000 people. So we've evolved to meet those needs, and because it went from 100 to 22,000 people, that means that the people in the community who remained tended to be poorer, more marginalized, less likely to be employed. There were fewer businesses, and so on and so on. So University Settlement evolved a series of social service programs to meet those needs. The poverty rate in this community, by the way, among kids, the kids that you're helping, is 60%. The lead toxicity rate, so we know that if kids get a certain amount of lead in their bloodstream, that it actually causes permanent cognitive impairment, which impedes reading. The lead toxicity rate in 3 schools that we tested last year was 30%. And even when I say that number coming out of my mouth, it feels like a kick in the stomach, because that literally means that 1/3 of kids could be starting school with permanent cognitive impairment. So poverty, lead, lack of jobs, so on and so on. In response to all of those needs, we have 4 main areas. We serve seniors, youth, families, and the community at large. And we might have time to talk about those services a little bit later, but yeah, I think what's important to keep in mind is that last year we served 12,000 of the 22,000 residents. So if you live in Slavic Village, if you live around here, chances are better than 50-50 that you're going to interface with us at some point of the year to get some kind of service. And the kind of service that you get is basically kind of keeping families together so they can make it the next step down the road to sort of keeping that family intact. Yeah. It's astonishing to us the needs that people come to us to. I mean, they'll literally come barefoot because they can't afford shoes. Even in the midst of all this, the COVID, we never closed. And in fact, in March, we gave away more food in a single month than we've ever given away in our entire history. So incredible. What that means is we're the last stop. We're the place that people turn to when there's nothing else. And even with the food, we were one of the last open food pantries in the entire region, still serving food for a while. So people would drive from other communities to come get food from us. So all that means is, you know, it's a deeply challenged community. full of really, wonderful people who want to raise their kids well and want to connect with their neighbors and want to work and want to achieve something in life, who can't always do that. And when they can't, we're here to help them. And over the course of the year, we help half the community.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And I think when Anna and I came along and to those homework.
I remember that.
And having the parents be so involved in their kids' learning, I think that was something that I guess really stuck with me, that they're really trying to do the best that they can to make the best opportunities for their kids. So I think that's a really cool thing.
And I would add that when you and Anna came, this is a community that often feels forgotten. So the fact that an international sports star and his wife, very pregnant at the time, might I add, came and visited us and spent time sitting down with kids. You have no idea how much impact that has on the kids. But it also says something about the community, that people really feel forgotten around here.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And then, so can you share a bit more about the youth programming and what you guys focus in on for the kids? Because I mean, to give them those opportunities to learn and grow and develop.
Yeah. Let me share about the youth program by sharing a story that relates to your work. We do a lot of youth programming, but something as simple as access to books is a really huge deal here. Not last summer, but the summer before, I often go for walks in the neighborhood and just talk to people. And a couple summers ago, I was out walking with the program officer from a local foundation. It was like July, and we ran into two kids on their bicycles, these old beater bicycles. They're probably second and third grade. And we stopped to talk to them, and we said, so what are you reading this summer? Because usually schools give kids a summer reading list to read. And so we just wanted to have a conversation about books. And the one kid, the younger kid, probably second grade, said to us, well, I'm not reading anything because my mom had to sell my books because we had to move suddenly because we were being attacked by my dad. Like there was a domestic violence situation. Wow. Mom had to move suddenly, and to come up with the security deposit on a new place, she had to sell the kids' books. So immediately, Dale, the person I was walking with, she and I walked over to University of Salem. We loaded these kids up with books, right? Like got bags and gave them all the books we could. That's the context in which youth services happen here. I ran into another kid recently, and I asked him what he was doing, where he was going. This was last summer, and I asked him where he was going next fall. And he said, well, I just got out of the first grade, but I was expelled for getting into a fight with another kid. So there's a zero tolerance kind of approach with the schools. I was expelled, so I don't know what's going to happen next. So you've got this 7-year-old kid who's not sure where he's going to school, and you've got this second grade kid who has no books in the family, nothing to read. That's the context. So what we do is we try to help kids succeed academically, but also in terms of the soft skills that you need in order to succeed in school. So as somebody who loves reading, speaking to somebody else who also loves reading, it's not always fun. I mean, there are times, I'm reading a bunch of books right now, some of them are kind of work. You have to be disciplined. You have to have certain skills before you even open the book. So our programs emphasize the soft skills and the academic skills. We do that in a couple of different ways. We have embedded staff in 2 local schools. They're called wraparound staff. And what that means is if you're a family that has stuff going on at home that's getting in the way of you learning, we can work with that family, address those needs, and get the kid back on track for learning. It's amazing to me how simple some of the obstacles are. So for example, some kids, because they don't have a washer and dryer at home, will come to school with the same clothes they wore the day before and the day before and the day before. And they're embarrassed about that. So we were able to get a washer and a dryer in the school so that kids can come to school a little bit early and we can get them clean clothes. Our wraparound coordinators work with dozens of agencies, mobilize all those agencies on a kid's behalf and help them succeed. We also have after-school programming 5 days a week during the school year. We'll probably continue to do that the way we've been doing that for the last couple of months, which is on a virtual platform. Mm-hmm. Then we have summer programming as well, which we've already launched. Yeah. Normally, we would bring all the kids together. They would all be physically here. We're doing all of that virtually now because of COVID-19.
How tough is that, trying to do that virtually? I mean,
that is a great question.
With the kids, having access to technology, because if they don't have access to books, I mean, to learn virtually is going to be really hard.
It is such an insightful question on 2 levels. One is because of COVID and because sort of kids were sent home one day without a real clear understanding of what happens next. One of the challenges is actually finding kids. So we've lost a couple of our kids, lost them as in we don't know where they are. And we've even gone to their houses and knocked on their doors. One house we knocked on the other day was a completely abandoned house. So kids are getting lost in the shuffle. And that's really, really concerning. There's academic regression because kids aren't able to engage with a teacher very much. But to your point, the strategy has been so far to try and get one laptop and one hotspot in each household. The problem is if you've got 6 kids in the Cleveland Public Schools, you have 7 people in that household trying to get online. Yeah. So we've been trying to do what we can to get laptops and hotspots into homes so that kids can actually study. But it's a real challenge. I just got a donation the other day so we can get some laptops into one of the communities that we serve. But, we need a lot more than what we have right now.
Yeah. And just going back to the wraparound stuff, I think that's a really interesting point. How important is it for you to be aware of the full picture and have everybody on board and have everybody pushing in the same direction? Because oftentimes, everyone can be working hard in isolation, but to have a plan that actually comes together seems like a really important thing.
Well, I will say one of the things, on any given day, I am beyond proud of the staff of University of Settlement. They're one of the best teams that I've ever worked with, and I've been in this work for about 35 years. It's really tough to do this kind of work, and it takes a lot out of staff because they see all this stuff going on. But it's because they see all this stuff going on that they can actually address the issues that are getting in the way of education. So if you go to school the night before, the police were at your house for some reason, or you didn't eat breakfast, that's a common issue, a really, really common issue. Any of those things can impede learning. And so we have to know about those, to your question, we have to know about those in order to address them. We do a lot of outreach, and I'll give you another example of sort of issues that impede academics. We were doing outreach near one of the schools last fall, and I ran into 2 moms who said, 2 separate moms, who said that they take their kids to school second hour. So they miss the first hour, but then they walk their kids to school the second hour, which means literally they're missing 17% of every school day. I did the math on this.
Yeah.
So in one case, it was because there was a neighbor who would let out his dogs every morning around the time of first period, and they were, dangerous dogs. Yeah. And she was terrified to walk her kids to school during first period, so she waited until after he brought his dogs back in.
Wow.
The second case was even more compelling. What she told us was that when she took her kids to school, she was embarrassed about her kids' oral hygiene, and the teachers often said something about her kids' bad teeth. And what she told us was, I thought she was going to say she couldn't afford a dentist. What she told us was, I can't afford the toothpaste. So you and I would not even blink at the cost of a tube of toothpaste, right? So in her case, it seems odd, but in her case, getting her toothpaste means the difference between her feeling comfortable taking her kids' first period versus second period, which means getting her kids 17% more academic instruction in that year. It's the things that we're not asking about that often get in the way. And that kids, when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they simply don't share. They just kind of swallow it and go on.
Yeah. I mean, those are incredible stories that, I mean, it's almost hard to believe.
It is, isn't it? I mean, she was telling me this and I was thinking, in America in 2019, how can this be true?
Yeah.
But,
so, I mean, you talk about like the wraparound and the whole community effect. Can you talk a bit about the programming for seniors and families in the community in general?
Sure. So, so I mentioned the youth. It's wraparound, it's summer program, it's after school. We have a parents advisory council. We do things like we have in a normal school year, we have every Wednesday night, families come and we all work on homework together. Yeah. That's the youth program. Senior program, before COVID, was a daily congregate program. We'd have a group of anywhere between 30 and 60 seniors come every day. They would get programming, they would get breakfast, they would get lunch, and they would get a snack. That's critical because in a neighborhood like this, seniors can feel very isolated. So it's very much socialization and keeping people fed. Yeah. They go on field trips. Field trips might be going to the drugstore, but they might also be going to an occasional ball game or something like that. Yeah. The family program is in some ways our core program. We just don't talk about it much. So the best way to explain our family program is that we're the central referral site for all Cuyahoga County cases of child abuse and neglect in 4 zip codes. All of those cases get referred to us to sort of put those families back together. And we anticipate in 2021 that we're going to serve somewhere around 1,000 families. Wow. So all of those, and what that means is they have parenting groups, they have socialization stuff, but we also host the visitation. So when, if for whatever reason a child is removed from a household, there's a scheduled visitation with that child so that parents can begin to work with their kids again. We do all those visitations here. Wow. Those are all listed here, which is a bit of a challenge in COVID because we have people sort of coming and going. But the family services are just so critical. And what we know about that is that even when a child has experienced abuse or neglect, they still very much want their mom or their dad back, right? They want their family to be whole, and often the parents do too. So we do everything we can to put those families back together. And then the last area we provide services is sort of broadly called community programs. The main part of that is food services. We do daily delivery of hot meals to seniors and homebound adults. We do a weekly congregate meal, which we've been doing as a carryout thing every Tuesday night. But we also have a huge pantry program. So last year we provided about 225,000 meals to the community.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot.
Incredible impact that you're having. I mean, what are some of the other accomplishments you're most proud of since you've been executive director?
You know, I'll tell you, whatever is, my motto is that whatever's good around here is the staff's creation. Whatever's bad around here is my fault. It truly is true that this team is amazing. I'll tell you a quick story about that. I knew when I'd actually worked with this agency before, so I knew a little bit about the agency. And what always impressed me is that they treated people with enormous dignity and respect. And the story that I wanted to share is a couple days after I started, I walked across the street to reach out to Grace, who runs our pantry program. And when I walked into the pantry, she was talking to one of our clients. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hi, I'm Earl, I'm the new director, and I just wanted to introduce myself." And she said, she turned to me with a sweet smile and she said, "I know who you are, But right now I'm working with a client, and I'll talk to you after I'm done. And I thought, that's the person I want, right? She just dissed the new executive director because she's working with a client. That's the kind of focus that I want. So one thing that I don't get to take credit for, but one thing I'm proud of with this place is we don't judge you. We don't judge you. If you have a criminal history and you need food, you need food. If you have, if you're a complicated person and you need housing, we'll help you. If you're a kid who's gotten into a lot of trouble, like the kid I mentioned who's been expelled, we're going to support you because everybody's got, everybody's got stuff, everybody's got challenges and opportunities. The big thing, though, is, I think we've shared this with you, is we're breaking ground in September on a $20 million new home for us. Ground floor would be 20,000 square feet for University Settlement, and 3 floors above that of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom affordable housing. It's the largest investment in this community in 30 years.
Yeah.
And it'll change this community for decades to come. So the reason we're doing that, I wish I could show you a picture right now. When I first walked into our main building, we have 2 buildings. I remember thinking, it's run down, it leaks, it literally drips on the seniors during a rainy day. I was up on the roof the other day because I was trying to hang something, and I found 3 or 4 raccoon nests. It's a mess. And I remember thinking when I first walked in, if I were a client, what would this tell me about who I am? And the answer is obvious. It tells you that you've sort of reached bottom. So this new building will sort of create a new narrative for the community and more hope for the future. And the community deserves it. So when you ask what I'm proud of, I'm proud that this staff holds clients so close to the bone and that we're building this project.
Yeah, no, that's really
It's exciting.
Yeah. No, and we'll hopefully be able to get some photos to put up.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
So people can see that. How can the community help? I mean, I'm hoping this will go out to a lot of people, especially in the Cleveland area that may be able to help out or share it with someone else that can help out.
Yeah, there's a couple ways, and I think, I don't know about you, but I think that we're in a moment right now. It's partly a COVID moment. It's partially a racial equity moment. It's a moment of sort of deep reflection about who we are and what it means to be who we are and how we want to live our lives. And so one of the things that I would ask people to do is to, I don't want to say this in a judgmental way at all or a patronizing way, but just make a commitment to understand poverty a little bit better. It's not, the people in this neighborhood work very hard just to make it day to day.
Yeah.
When you're working very hard to just make it day to day, it's hard to do the other stuff that the world thinks you should do. Get an education, get a job, all that kind of stuff. You're just getting by. So think a little bit more deeply about poverty and think about, I was thinking about this morning, that times like this call those of us who are blessed to do more, and times like this call those who are less blessed to ask for help, ask for the help that you need. And so since I'm in a position to do more, my wife and I are committed to giving more this year than last year, even though we're probably going to have less income. Just because that's what you do when you're human. So think more about poverty. We can always use volunteers. Even during COVID, we've been able to accommodate some, not as many as we have in the past, but certainly volunteers. And we need volunteers for everything. It could be in any of our programs. Resources always help, but I don't want to be one of those nonprofit directors who's always walking out there with hat in hand, because if you believe in it, you'll support it. And if you believe in something else, you'll support that. But I do think that this project that we're doing is probably one of the most exciting projects happening in Cleveland right now. And that it's a very exciting time to be involved with University Settlement. I should have said, by the way, that the other part of this project is not just a new home for University Settlement, but we realized, and this sort of amplifies the point I just made, we realized that if we built this lovely facility for us, but didn't do anything for what was right around us, that it would be like creating a gated community in a poor neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's be outward facing. So we're simultaneously abating the lead and asthma triggers from all 250 homes in our immediate area and creating the first lead safe neighborhood in Cleveland.
That's
Which
awesome.
that the thing that I said before about 30% of kids testing positive for lead toxicity won't be true in the future.
That's really, really.
I'm incredible. I'm as excited about that as I am, you know, having a new offices for us.
Yeah.
There's plenty, and even, you know, if we're gonna help kids recover from the COVID year, which history will probably call it that, they're behind academically anywhere from 6 to 12 months. We're going to need tutors, we're going to need readers, we're going to need mentors, we're going to need anybody who can spend a couple hours with a kid just reading and talking about what they're reading, which is why the reading work that you're doing is so important.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. And then the best way for people to learn more, is it the website? Probably
the website. It's universitysettlement.net. There's a universitysettlement.org in New York. If you end up in New York, you went to the wrong place. So universitysettlement.net, and we have a bunch of information about our programs and what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, Earl, thanks for having a chat today. Hopefully, you know, this can go out to a lot of people, and you get some new volunteers. But appreciate your time, and congratulations and great work to everybody there who does an awesome job.
I want to say congratulations on your book, which all the kids have read now. Some of the staff are reading it. I have 12 other books ahead of this, but this is on my book stand. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Earl.
All right. See ya. Take care.
Thank you. See you later.